That's why it's so important for us when we start. So if you start, like I said, business or whatever, you go into something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because once novelty wears off and you need the hard hours putting in, if you don't enjoy it, it's hard to stick at it.
You're gonna give up. Like, you will give up.
You will give up.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the After You cast. A returning guest, somebody that we've had on not so long ago, but somebody that I've been meaning to get on for a little while now. So, without further ado, introduce yourself to the people.
How's it going? I'm Harris Elijah. I've recently entered the podcasting world, as you know, with Unpopular Theory, podcast about people's unpopular opinions and the theories behind them. So, yeah, it's a big world. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it can be a congested world.
Absolutely. I mean, like today, I wanted to get you back on, man, just because.
It's good to be back.
It's a pleasure, man.
It's a pleasure.
Because the last time you guys would have seen this lovely gentleman would have been like when we was literally.
It's like nearly a year and a half ago.
It was a while back, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember you talked about that literally in the conversation when we was talking about how, like the difficulties of launching a podcast and like what it takes, everything involved. But like. So much has probably changed since then, right?
A lot, so,
fill us in a little bit from like that time to now. There's a lot of big changes, bro.
A lot of big changes. I think with a lot of things, I think the best advice, that it's a cliche thing to say, but people just say to start. Yeah. And I knew that as well. I knew that once you start, you learn so many things that you can't really learn. Yeah. You can do the theory, you can do the research and all that stuff, but once you start and get in the practical side of things, you learn so much faster and things that you just never thought you need to learn. Yep. But like I said, it's a cliche thing. Everyone knows that that's a thing, but it's just a matter of pushing yourself and making that step. So once you start, there's all sorts of
all new stuff comes, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I realised is that you can teach and teach and teach, but until you actually do the work, there's certain things that you just can't like express simply and be like, oh yeah, just try it like this, and like if you explain it to someone, it just sounds weird.
Exactly.
As soon as you're doing it, you're like, oh man, like like with podcasting, for example, it's like the equipment you may need. You can tell people to go get this, go get that, go get this, and then they start using it, and they're like, damn, this actually doesn't work for me, or that technical error. So it's crazy.
Well, the equipment is like a big thing, I think. Like, when you're starting a new podcast, for example, and you could people starting anything, like whether you want to like jump into like photography or writing or whatever, like you need a new laptop, you need a new camera, you need all these things, and hardware costs money. And obviously, if you're starting, you're not expecting to be making money straight off the bat.
Exactly. So
you're basically putting like
it's a loss.
Everything that costs, it's a loss. Like everything that costs in life, like nowadays, cost of living, food and travel and this and that. On top of that, you've got to still buy all this hardware.
And then you need these new microphones.
Exactly. So I don't think that's obviously something that you expect, and people can be like, okay, I know it's going to cost me X, Y, Z to start this up, but it's still, there's a lot of like hidden costs behind it, like where you're going to film a podcast. You can film it at home, but then
does it have the look you want?
Not just that, but like when you branch out and you scale up a little bit and you start having guests on there that you don't know personally, you might just know them as like a mini influencer or something. Do you want that person coming to your house? It doesn't mean they're going to do anything. Like they might not. It doesn't seem professional. They might not want to feel comfortable going to someone's house. Little things like that you don't realise.
Or the conversation's different because they're like in your kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's people walking around your house and this. There's loads of things that like. So where do you film it? That could be a cost. The equipment that you use, that could be a cost. And obviously the time. That comes back to the time it takes, the editing time, like we said earlier. But obviously I knew that when you edit, it's going to take X amount of time. But when you put these episodes together, filming takes about an hour or two, depending on what you've done and stuff. But the editing time takes ages, and then once you've edited the full episode, you want to like do little clips for social media. This and that.
That's the hard part, right?
Ages.
Yeah, you're looking at a 30-minute clip or 40-minute clip, and you're just like, so many gems in here. But like, now I've got to chop it out.
So when you're starting off, people will be like, if they're giving you advice or if you're reading up on stuff, they'll be like, oh, get this hardware, or make sure you edit like this and like this. They don't tell you this hardware costs this much, or this editing cost takes this much time, and you need editing software, and you know, like you still got to balance in all this spare start time that you're adding in around your everyday life routine and stuff. So you got your 9 to 5. You got anything else? You can go to the gym if you play football, any sport, or you know, all that stuff's got to be balanced around all this. But at the same time, none of it is a complaint. I think it's a great learning curve. 100%. It's a great route to take, and I think I just felt like, as well as I felt as well as my normal job, I always have to do something creative on the side. I genuinely feel like I'm losing brain cells.
Yeah, I know.
If I'm not doing something creative, you know,
something that
might not be making money straight away and stuff like that. It will take time, but I feel like you have to be doing that sort of stuff. It's stimulating, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good thing as well. Like, so for the audience and stuff, because obviously a lot of people, I know what you do and I know what the pod's all about, and I think it's a great concept. Tell us a little bit more about just like what it entails, and like I've been on it. It's beautiful. Go check it out, by the way, you get a chance. Yeah,
please do. So the way you might have heard a lot, it's quite a common phrase to be like, "Oh, I've got the ick," right? So this is a good way I like to explain it. Is someone says I've got the ick because this person does this habit and I don't like it and so on, blah blah. But I felt like, especially like, it's a joke, especially like girls create the ick for the guys. But there's so many crazy ones, like when he crosses the road, or I don't even know.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Where it's just like some ones you're just like, what?
Yeah. So what? My thinking behind it is like, right, they're obviously just trying to be funny now. It's not actually an ick. Some things are an ick. I get that. So
of course,
I've become to like dislike that word a little bit.
I know what you mean.
But how it links to Unpopular Theory is it's not just me saying I've got the ick of this is an ick for me. It's actually saying this is my opinion about XYZ, and this is the theory behind it. So if I was to say, oh, when that person crosses the road, it's an ick. Right, why is it? Explain why. This is the theory behind it. It might be an unpopular opinion, but this is the theory behind it, and you don't have to agree with it. But if you can just understand the thinking behind
the context
it,
and
so that's where the sort of idea comes from. But yeah, like check it out, give it a follow.
Definitely
share the clips and so on. It's a new year, so hopefully be smashing out loads of episodes and getting loads of new guests on there.
I'm looking forward to seeing a whole lot more content. Like, as I said, guys, go check it out. You get the chance. It's a good spin on something that is understood. There's a lot of people understand that element of like the ick and like things that upset people or like, you know, jar people. But like you said, a lot of it's getting thrown out of context now.
So much.
It's good to like put a bit of theory behind something that's considered a bit more casual, a bit more, you know, more fun, easygoing. Because like if you watch a lot of like dating shows, you look at the Love Islands and all of these different shows.
It covers a lot of. I tried to keep it, you know, light-hearted, and it covers a lot of like normal everyday social like aspects and things like that.
I think it's good, man. I think it's good because it's good. You let people kind of like tell their version of what it is, but the fact that you make people kind of explain it a bit means it takes
that's the main bit about it. So like a few people we've had in there have really unpopular opinions, but like I said, if they can explain their thinking behind it, then
it's relatable.
Fair play to them,
100%. It's when you throw things out and then it doesn't really have any context to it.
Like where you getting that from?
But that I heard it on a clip or something. It's not authentic. No, I feel you. No, it's a pleasure to have you sit back down with us, man.
No, it's good to be back.
What I wanted to talk a little bit about is like overcoming those challenges of just like launching your pod and like the stuff you go through, because a lot of people don't get a lot of that insight behind the scenes. I've tried to be as honest and upfront with my audience about the platform. Everybody knows who's been on here. See, I do it in a very ad hoc, simplistic way, and the reason being is for the stuff we just mentioned, like the edit time, again, the money, the cost, everything is like you'd be surprised, like so many little things are such an obstacle when you're creating, and then like you said, you're making a loss most of the time.
Exactly.
So how do you overcome that? Do you know what I mean? Like what was the biggest obstacle when you was launching? Was it like the editing? Was it the content? What was the biggest challenge?
I think weirdly the biggest obstacle was me.
Getting out of your own way.
So I knew, I literally, like I spoke to you last time, like, I've been literally thinking about this sort of idea that I wanted to do a podcast or something for a couple of years now. And it's taken me a while just to get started. But the first reason for that was the identity of the podcast. What do I want it to be? Do I want it to be serious? Do I want to be, like a bit more light-hearted? Exactly. What's the theme for the, podcast and so on? So that once I grew a bit of identity in that, so that was one hurdle. Once you get past that, the other one was actually just starting. Like,
just start launching, man.
People it feels like a little bit of like an interview question here, but like when you have a job interview, and when you answer by saying I'm too much of a perfectionist, that's like a standard cliche thing to say, but that was literally my issue. Like, I was trying to get everything ready before I actually started, so all the hardware, exactly where I'm going to film, everything set up. I ideally wanted to have about 6 episodes pre-recorded for launch.
I know.
And that way you have like
you roll into things. Right?
Because I had all these conditions in my head, I was just never getting there.
I get you. So you was just like meeting more obstacles and then more things
and adding more conditions all the time. So at one point I was like, right, I'm just gonna film one and put it online, and then I'm forced
to tweak and adjust from there.
So that, like I said, I was my biggest obstacle to start off with. I didn't make that step, and then once you make it, you're in there. You're like, oh my god, like, what is this world? But you manage to like. You do. You figure the other thing is, you figure it out. The other thing is it's really important to have like a good network around you.
Facts. 100%.
As you know, like what we do is like a big networking thing. Like, is a lot of who you know makes a difference.
They're so true.
But on the flip side, and I don't want to get too deep here, but what I've learned is a lot of your friends and friends, or like even family, really, but generally people that you know and that you talk about all these ideas and things, like it might not be podcasts, and like could be anything, like if you want to start a new business or this and that, they all want you to do well, but they don't want you to do better than them.
That's sick. That's a sick opinion, and
that's what I've learned.
Had that for bro. Why is that such a common denominator? I've spoken to so many people that, like, obviously we know each other, we go back to childhood days, but like, I know what you're referencing. It's that aspect of like close people that that come to your house, that like, blood running through their veins, and you think, just share my podcast, right? Just share it. But no, you go on their Instagram and you'll see every celebrity, you'll see every post, even similar things. That's what pisses me off the most. Sorry for my language. What pisses me off the most is when you'll see people that will share something like-minded or another podcast, and they're your close friends or they're close people and you're just like...
So I'm not... It doesn't have to be about sharing necessarily, but I'll see someone, post to their story about... I don't know, some competition they're trying to win, like repost this and then 5 times and I don't know, like this and follow this, and that's fine. But you said to me like 5 months ago, oh come on, I'll start this, do this, trying to motivate me. I've started now. I don't like, I mean, it'd be nice for someone to post this or share this and so on, but where are you now, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So they want you to do well.
They're like, but you should get this off the ground, man. You should do this.
They'll give you advice and all that stuff, and all of it is good advice, but as soon as you start getting to a level where like they're thinking, oh, they might be doing better than me, whatever, mate, you might not even be doing better than them.
No, it's perception.
And that's when they start falling off the grid.
It's true.
It's true. Like you say, you wanted me to do well, and now I'm trying. Where's the support now, kind of thing. So I think people, there's a lot of fake friends and not. I mean, again, I'm not saying just because you haven't shared something you're not a friend. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like the support comes flying in at the beginning, but when you start doing well, people worry that
it starts to fade, doesn't it? It's just like it's all powerful on the startup, like launch. That's why I've said this before on the podcast. When I was sitting down with Anita, season 1, I said the launch is exciting, because it's new. But once after a certain amount of time, that novelty wears off, and then you really find out who's in your circle, who's in your corner.
Exactly,
so like you said, in the launch, when I was about to launch mine, same thing, bro. Everyone's like, you should do. Oh, this is perfect for you. And then the first episode, funny enough, had the most views. And then episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, it was just like, whoa.
That's why it's so important for us when we start. So if you start like I said, business or whatever, you go into something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because once novelty wears off and you need the hard hours putting in, if you don't enjoy it, it's hard to stick at it.
Bro. You're gonna give up.
It's hard.
You will give up.
You will give up. So if you're starting something new, whatever it is, make sure it's something that you enjoy and you genuinely want to do it, not just a beginning buzz and ride that wave at the beginning when the novelty's there.
Yeah.
Once that wears off and you've got to put the graft in,
Yep.
you will, like you said, you will give up if you don't like it enough.
You will. I mean, it's like, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I don't ever want to feel like bad. Like, I've come to the point where I don't get frustrated with it as much now. When I first started, it was just kind of like, it used to annoy me because I'm just sitting there watching people close to me, almost like, you don't really want me to shine. I used to get frustrated myself, and it's not always that. I think it's just, it goes back to what you said, right? It's like people don't naturally want to see you flourishing and thriving more than they are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I had to learn that, like, not everyone is don't take it so personal.
No.
You know, not everyone has the time. Everyone's going through their own stuff. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter. So what I did want to do, now that we've got you here, I'd love to get, seeing as obviously your podcast is on Popular Theory, what would be one unpopular opinion that you've got that you'd like to share with the people? Because obviously I know you're probably the one asking the questions on the episodes, isn't it? So have you got one particular that stands out, or something?
I've got a lot, actually. Just depends what subject you want to talk about. If you throw out a subject and I can...
Let's do relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah.
Okay,
what's
so
an unpopular theory?
you would probably see this pop up as a subject on one of my episodes, but one that I have that stands out, I have actually loads on relationships, but one that stands out is the bigger the caption in your relationship post, the weaker the relationship. So
that's a very good one. I like that.
Yeah, or you can add to it and add another layer to it. It's like the more you see a relationship on social media, the weaker the relationship. And obviously this is an average thing. Like, I'm not saying every single person that has a big caption, or anyone that puts a big caption in their relationship posts is a weak relationship. I'm not saying that, but that's where the theory comes in. You know, like, that's when you sit and explain what you mean. Yeah. But I think the bigger the caption, the weaker the relationship. Just generally, because I think you're trying to sell your relationship to other people instead of...
It's like relationship marketing.
Yeah, basically. It's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah. I've never thought of it that way, but like, it makes a lot of sense as to why the whole power couple thing doesn't work, right? Overall, it can eventually work. But as we know, like you said, if we're doing law of averages, on average, it's unlikely that chasing the power couple idea, because it goes back to that. You're selling it. It doesn't feel as
you're trying to make other people look at, like, your relationship, be like, oh, look at this perfect couple goals and whatever you might want it to look like, which it could be the true in reality. Yeah, it could. But why does everyone need to know that all the time? There's nothing wrong with seeing it now and again, but I find generally, on average, like, people trying to compensate for something missing.
Well, I think about it like this as well too, because it's a great one. Because think about in the quiet times, because we know how much work goes into content creation, right? All of this stuff, that is essentially a part of your relationship at that point. Because you imagine sitting there, you're on a nice holiday in Hawaii, hey, what's going on, babe? Like, do you want to go out for a walk on the beach or something? It's like, hold on, wait, let me just get my tripod. You know what I mean? Let me get my stabilizer. And then she's following behind you, and you're like, can you?
There's a little ring light.
Wait. The sun is coming really nice here. Yeah, I get it. It doesn't feel genuine, right? That's a really good one, especially for relationships. Okay, let's switch one, make it a bit more fun. What about sport?
Sport, I think, for example, if you have a kid, you have to teach that child sport growing up, because it builds character.
Very true.
No matter what sport, it doesn't have to be like, we play football and stuff, but it doesn't have to be a ball sport even. I think, team sport, it's better. Yeah, me too. Because again, it builds a lot of character and so on. There's loads of layers to this opinion, but my opinion is, you have to teach someone sport from an early age to build a certain amount of character. They need to learn how to lose. They need to learn how to work as a team. They need to learn what it feels like to win. And even now, you can even expand it. It doesn't have to be sport. It can be like, athletic. There's like e-games now and all that stuff. You can branch out, but I get you. Some sort of competitiveness needs to be in them from the beginning, so in the future they can get far. So I think sport is like a very, very vital part of everyone's character building.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from my experience working with athletes in general, they literally have like this mentality of like, you know, willingness to work a lot. Obviously, get the work done, but there's that willingness to like understand that other people help make things better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's just like that teamwork. That I can't do it all by myself, and like we get that from football.
And by that I mean, I don't mean you have to like be amazing at this sport when you're older. Or you don't even have to play that sport when you're older. You know? The reason is like it creates a certain amount of skill sets at the beginning. So whether it's like, I don't know, ballet or there's hundreds of things you could be doing, but it builds a certain amount of skill sets for you for everyday life. That'll probably be my sports related.
That's really good. I like that. It's very two good ones in terms of the mindset of both things. I love that. And you know, obviously just a little taster of like what the conversations are, because I think as this starts to roll out and you see more and more that's why I'm excited to see your stuff roll out.
So it's kind of like a good advert too.
It's a good advertisement.
So if you like them kind of opinions, jump on and like.
Now you will find some, and I think we will get into more unpopular opinions as we see as time goes along. See, what I've realised, and in the last year or two, or even just with podcasting and content creation, you've got those two forms of content, right? You've got one side which is very, you know, educational, informal. Then you've got the opposite side of the internet, which is just like viral content in your face, trigger points, like triggering people in general, right? I think I kind of like both in a way, because I find myself online watching a little bit of the other content that I don't make.
This is sort of like, I think half of my target audience for this podcast is the internet trolls, sort of. I think there's a lot of keyboard warriors and stuff like that. And a lot of stuff that people say on the podcast will get them triggered because they want to be like, no way. But that's the reason it's an unpopular opinion. You're going to disagree with it. But I don't mind that, because I want to see their opinions, you know. Like I want to see what they think about it, and I'd be happy to have them on, or make an episode about the opposite side and so on. So the whole point, like I said, is to explain why you think that. That's the biggest thing. So I think on our website I've written as a tagline, in a way, is if to describe the podcast would be if Hear Me Out was a podcast. So if because the amount of times I chat crap, I'm like,
hear me out, wait, listen.
Exactly.
You've got to be like,
preface it. A random one-liner, and then someone look at me like, what are you talking about? And I'll be like, hold on, hear me out. This is what I mean. And that's exactly what the podcast is like.
I like it.
So
add some kind of like some depth, some context, like you said.
Some context to it, some theory behind it, and it helps you understand why. And again, at the end of the podcast, you probably still won't agree with what the person said.
That's beautiful.
But at least you've seen the other side of it. You know?
It might force you to think a little differently too as well. Like that's one thing I like about it, is you find more information when you lose. And that's why I think conversations where you don't have the answers, same thing. Take it football, for example. You don't get better at football by scoring goals all of the time or constant success. You get better when you lose 1-0 after putting in a great performance. You get better when you feel like you've eaten really well, you slept well, you go to training and the ball's just slipping under your foot and you're all over the place. You're like, huh?
What am I doing
Doesn't
wrong?
add up. What is this? And you realise it's just the law of nature, right? It's like sometimes you put all the energy in, don't get nothing. Other times you barely feel like you're trying and you just flow around the place. So,
well, you're not going to question what you're doing wrong if you're doing well.
So
when you are messing up, when things are going wrong, you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong and how can I fix that? So
it's more impactful, right?
Exactly.
So I that's why that style of content, and obviously trying to massage some of that into my style of content, is like natural. You want to learn what doesn't work and what does work. You know what I mean? So one thing I've tried to do now is highlight more culture, highlight differences, because it just brings things together. I mean, take us, for example. We come from two completely different cultural backgrounds where generationally we wouldn't even been friends. And I think it's quite amazing now we can sit. And like 2 generations ago, our grandparents would be like, we say hello and then pass. Whereas now we're like at each other's weddings and inviting each other to parties. So that's one thing I love about the culture we have now. It's just breaking down a lot of walls, right? And we're at this point where you've got all this free flowing content, and anyone really, honestly. People ask me all the time, like, how do you get this pod? Like, what do you do? They assume that I'm sitting here with a team. It's like, very 90% of the time.
Hopefully, eventually, it will be a team.
Yeah.
But to start off with, you've got to put the graft in.
That's it.
Yeah.
And people got to see that you're willing to do. See, that's another thing. While we're here, what stage of the podcasting process would you say is the most difficult or the most challenging for you starting? It must be different for everyone.
Yeah. Well,
what is it for you?
I think what big hurdles there still are is, number one, you have to get the right guests on. You can't just get a guest on. Does this guest, meet the theme of your podcast?
Yeah.
Does it give you the content that you want to put out, and that kind of stuff? So getting guests is a big question mark. And then
because I find that's a good distinction actually, because like if you do we have guest format podcast, and then you've got some podcasts which is like
solo
sit in front of the camera,
co-hosting and stuff,
co-hosting 100%.
So even that, what format of podcast you want, and then what guests you want on there to represent, because every time you have someone on there, they're representing your podcast. Now, when you put that out, they're representing your podcast. So you got to think carefully of who you want on there, and then how you're going to scale it. So how you're going to slowly get bigger. I mean, it's easy to, I say easy. It's easier to keep bringing out content, but how are you going to slowly grow it? And make it different every single time. That's one thing I try to do with each episode, Mr. Beast. Every episode, try and change one thing, and then see how,
because it's like experimentation, and then you because like you said, if you've got all the same type of stuff, you can never really go back and review, can you? So it's just one big.
You have to grow. You have to keep growing it, and you have to keep changing things to like change. Even if, like I said, if you make one thing better every time, okay. See how you can grow it.
I like that. I think it's keeping the diversity open of your options, right? It's just like don't box yourself in too soon, but experiment. That's the thing as well. Like,
don't be scared to keep trying changing. I mean, the way I would do it is, the way I'm thinking of doing it is, get that first season out, and then once that first season's done, then you look back, review, see what you've done. And I mean, you're 4 seasons in, so I bet you have a chance to do that a few times. But get that first season out. The first season is just a learning curve.
Absolutely.
Just accept it to be a learning curve. Probably like 99% of the time you won't make money out of it. You won't.
Very true.
It's
unlikely.
It's probably won't go viral. Probably won't this and that. But just get it out. Learn. Look back and learn what you've done. Like, what can I change for the next season? Do I want to do next season? Am I still interested in doing this? What did I enjoy? What did I dislike? How can I change the things I disliked?
Facts.
Once you've got all the answers and you still want to do it, then change what you thought you need to change, and then go for it again. And then keep going for it until you've made it.
100%. That's so true. People stop too soon. That's another thing as well. I've realised with pods or with anything in life, right? That you try it and people want that gain, they want that return.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not instant success.
No, it's not, right?
If it is, it's lucky.
Exactly.
Well, not lucky. What does one say lucky? But it's just you can't just wait your whole life for a break. Whether it's podcasting or just anything, work, whatever. You can't just live to have a break, big break, because it might not even come.
It's true,
but
that is true.
It will come if you push for it to come. If you keep going, you can't just wait for it to come. You have to go out and get it.
You have to do enough, and that's what I don't see enough of people with pods. It's like if they don't get the viral views, or if their channel doesn't start monetizing and making money, they're like, I'll move on to something else. But like you said, you've got to stick at it for long enough, right? And
I think the views, but just touching on what you said about the views, it's like, because it's a number, it can be so demoralising on it. Like, because you see these popular, you instantly compare yourself to these big YouTubers or big podcasts and stuff. And you know that you're not going to be that straight away. But you still
try
see
to
the numbers.
Up.
And then you see your own numbers, and you're like, oh my god. Like, the best example of this is streamers. Live streamers. Like, I have so much respect for them, because they stream and like
some of them
2 or 3 viewers.
I know,
and you're playing, if you're playing games.
Like gaming streaming.
You're literally there, bro. You know no one's watching, but you're still talking to the chat potentially, and you're still doing. That's mad respect, because when you do make it and you're getting donations and questions and all that stuff, like, they must
feel so validated.
Such a good feeling when if you make it, because Yeah, the numbers, like I said, because it's a number, because you see it's 1 or a 0 on the live stream thing, it must be demoralising. But if you love it enough, you've got to stick at it, and then you will get there.
100%. It's less about like time and energy, and more about passion and understanding. So like, if you have the passion and understanding, eventually you'll get the timing right, and eventually you'll get the process right. But you got to have that bit first in play, innit? So,
I've always said like, motivation is great, but discipline is like what makes you. Yeah, so like, you can, like you said, the novelty is part of motivation, isn't it? Like, once that motivation wears off, or you're having a hard day, if you have the discipline, you'll be like, no, I need to do this. I need to stream today. I need to post today. I need to create this content today,
100%.
so on. But your motivation is not there. It doesn't matter, because you've got the discipline.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so much more important than
it is. It is, and it's not. How do you improve discipline? That is a good thing, because people always say you've got to be more disciplined, and I think it's a mix of things. It's like, obviously, personal self-choice. Then I think, like you said earlier, about who's your network, who you connected with, because I would say definitely the friends I have, like yourself and the people around me, they all challenge me in some way, in a positive way. Not like, man, you should be doing this, or why aren't you doing that? It's more like, oh, you've thought about trying this, or incorporate that. It's a positive reinforcement. And I don't think, not everyone
with discipline, I think the way to improve it is you've got to keep focusing on why you're doing it. I think that's the biggest thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah, the why.
If you, like going to the gym, for example. Like that. People think you need motivation to go to the gym, and you do to an extent. But once you use that motivation, you basically got to ride off the motivation at the beginning. So the beginning bit is all motivation. You got to ride off that to quit the discipline. And then you got to use the why.
So like, the motivation is like the engine. So it's just like
the
motivation's getting you going.
And you're not going to have motivation every single day, but discipline is about every single day, every single hour, whatever the time constraint may be. But the why, so why you're going to the gym, you want to have a certain body type, or gain muscle, or look like a certain way, that's the why. So if you focus on the why, the discipline kicks in, and the routines kick in, and then so on. Not just gym, anything.
Anything. No,
focus on why you're doing it. That's what creates that discipline.
That's really good. That's an insightful way of looking at it, because in my mind I'm thinking like, like I just said about the engine, like, imagine the motivation is the engine, you're trying to get to a destination, right? So starting the engine and going, that's just an engine taking you somewhere. But like you said, what's the why? Are you going to take someone to school? Are you going to work? Or are you going to do something fun? Like, the purpose is really why. Otherwise you're commuting. Like, blindly.
You just become a robot after a while. The reason has to be big enough for you to create a discipline, and then if you have enough discipline, then you will get to where you need to. Because, like I said, motivation will drop off. It's up and down all the time. And when you mix the motivation, and your motivation is high, and discipline's there, then you're having an amazing time. But when the motivation drops, the discipline will carry you through it every single time.
That's a good. So basically, keep discipline as your common denominator.
That one baseline doesn't have to be low, doesn't have to be high. Just one baseline across that gets you through the cold hard nights. It's true. It thinks back to another football one, doesn't it? Like them Thursday nights in December. Exactly.
And them Sunday mornings, or even
the ice cold when the ball hits your ear and stuff like that.
When it slaps the back of your hamstring. You know that? Oh man. But there's all character building, right? It's character building, and it goes back to what you said earlier in the beginning of this. Like, sport, I think that's a great unpopular opinion. I think even another way to say it would just be like, all humans need activity or sport.
They need some sort of competitive element in their growing up, because and sport's the only common way to do it.
Do you think it's because it teaches you how to fail? Do you think it's the failing element?
It's a mixture of failure, like I said, a mixture of working with the team. Even, I mean, if you're like, I don't know, a tennis player or snooker player or something, like, you're not necessarily in a team. It teaches you to work by yourself. Whatever it is, it will teach you some sort of character building. Create a certain amount of skill sets that you might not ever do that sport ever again. But when you're older, you can use that in your everyday life.
Very true. Yeah, that's sweet. Well, I think all of that is just such beautiful information. As well, what's good to see is how you've taken that leap of faith. And the last time that we had you on, and here we are now, you have your own podcast. filming content as like your own content creator, and you get to learn certain things that can never be spoken about, and now share them on, because you even give me bits of advice and stuff, and
and that's how you're going to learn, isn't it? Like, a lot of things that I've said, well, I would have learned from someone else, and so on. It's just a networking factor. It's good, like we mentioned earlier, it's good to have a good network around you. Yep. But look out for the ones that don't want you to do better than them, like we mentioned.
It's true. It's true. Watch out for that. Yeah, just be wary. Taking things with a pinch of salt, innit?
Yeah. No, they're not necessarily bad people. I think sometimes it's human nature to not, like, I guess
it's like safeguarding your
personal image, because you don't want to be having
like the cards close to the chest type of thing, innit? It's just like, I've got a full house here. Yeah. It's like, do I really want to tell him about this full house? Or does he have
do you know how I see it? It's like, I always see this thing. I heard it's quite a popular saying, I guess, but you know when you're like in the woods, say you're in the woods and you're getting chased by a bear, right? And there's two of you or three of you, however many. You don't have to outrun that bear. You just have to outrun someone else.
Who's going to be the slowest one?
Exactly. Yeah. So when you link it to about, you know, people don't want you to see better. They don't want to be that last slowest person. So when they see someone running faster, that's why.
It's a survival trait, basically.
It's just sometimes a natural reaction, I guess. But
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as to why people would like. Because I don't think it's even something they do purposely. It's probably more instinctual.
No, it can. Well, maybe instinctual, more just nature, I guess.
Isn't it? Nature, human nature.
Some people want their friends to do well. Like, you want to grow together. You want to share that prize at the top. Other people want that prize for themselves. In this case, that I gave with the bear, they don't want to get left behind. You know, and when they see that I'm not doing anything
positive,
like
I see most
on the side or creative or whatever, but these lot are, these people are, and that person is, I'm getting left behind. They don't want to see that, so that turns into hate sometimes. You know, it can get a bit nasty.
That is why a lot of friendships and stuff can get very sour, isn't it?
And the worst thing is with all social media and stuff like that, a lot of that is behind closed doors. You might not even ever hear about it.
It's true.
You might not even know about it or hear about it, but
that's why clarity is key, isn't it? But like I said, even with the clarity, people could be very upfront and honest. You may still never know what their true intentions and stuff are, right? I see where you're coming from. Well, I mean, before we close up with this beautiful conversation, as you know, we always do words of wisdom towards the end of our conversations, and hopefully now that you got your pod rolling, I want to get this guy back and forth, and I'm going to jump on his a few times as well. So if go check out his, you're likely to see me on there, and as we always do, words of wisdom, which is just kind of a little bit of advice for something that you've gained over the years that you can now pass along to that up and coming budding podcaster. What would you suggest?
I would say, I don't want to be the cliche person and say just start and just do it, because when I was trying to start, I already knew that sort of wisdom, and this didn't help. I think everyone thinks they're in a different situation. You're not. You'll see it until you start. Exactly. But you see it until you start, and then you're like, why didn't I just start earlier? So I don't want that probably isn't like the one thing I'd say, but the one thing I would say is that the network around you is so important. That, and just ignore the numbers to start off with.
That's very good.
Like we've already spoken about, ignore the numbers. Just see the first season or 10 episodes or 20 episodes, whatever you're thinking of. Pick a goal of minimum. I mean, it doesn't have to be podcasting, content creation, or whatever it is. Pick a minimum that you want to aim for, and just get to that point. Even if you feel like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore, just get to that point and then make a decision. Get to that goal marker, that checkpoint, or whatever you're going to call it, and then make a decision. And if you don't afterwards, you don't enjoy it or whatever, fine. But at least you made it to that point and you tried, and that might help you learn some skills that something else might be better for you.
Facts.
So don't focus on the numbers, just get to that checkpoint, I'd say.
Well, that's brilliant advice. I mean, I think what's great is just seeing how you got to this point now, and you're just out pushing out.
I'm only like a few episodes in, but I felt like I've said, because I've started now. I felt like I've learned a lot, and hopefully we'll keep learning a lot more. So
yes, you will, 100%, bro. And I mean, I think you've got a great theme and a style to just kind of follow along in terms of like giving people that something that challenges them slightly, but it's not overly offensive. Do you know what I mean? A lot of these platforms now, they're trying to directly offend people. Do you know what I mean?
It won't directly offend you, it probably will indirectly offend you.
Well, that is good, man. But nah, brother, honestly, pleasure to always sit down with you.
Good to be on here.
As always, go and check out Unpopular Theory podcast. I'll put the links and all of that good stuff into this one. We're back for season 4. There's going to be a whole bunch more content, not just here. We're seeing from this lovely gentleman, people that we collaborated with. Collective Core is a business that has recently been launched. As I said, go check out this lovely gentleman's work, and we're going to be collaborating, just bringing new faces to you, new people, and just pushing the envelope, innit? Yeah, that's all we can do, man. Just keep pushing, keep thriving, keep striving. But yeah,
thanks for having me on.
Always, bro, always. And yeah, look forward to catching you guys on the next episode, and go and follow this guy. I know he's got lots of content coming. So until the next episode, peace and love.